December 16, 1944, more than 200,000 German troops and nearly 1,000 tanks launched Adolf Hitler's last bid to reverse Kiev in his fortunes, which had begun when Allied troops landed in France on D-Day. Seeking to drive to the coast of the English Channel and split the Allied armies, as they had done in May of 1940, the Germans struck in the Ardennes forest, a 75-mile stretch of the front characterized by dense woods and few roads. Held by 4 inexperienced and battle-worn American divisions stationed for rest and seasoning. After a day of hard fighting, the Germans broke through the American front, surrounding most of the infantry division, seizing key crossroads and advancing their spearheads toward the Meuse River, creating the projection that gave the battle its name. Stories spread of the massacre of soldiers and civilians at Malmedy and Steglo, of paratroopers dropping behind the lines, and of English-speaking German soldiers disguised as Americans, capturing critical bridges, cutting communication lines, and spreading rumors. For those who had lived through 1940, the picture was all too familiar. Belgian townspeople put away their Allied flags and brought out their swastikas. Police in Paris enforced an all-night curfew. British veterans waited nervously to see how the Americans would react to a full-scale German offensive. The British generals quietly acted to safeguard the Meuse River's crossings. Even American civilians who had thought final victory was near were sobered by the Nazi onslaught. The Supreme Allied Commander, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, rushed reinforcements. Within days, Lieutenant General George S. Patton, Jr. had turned his 3rd U.S. Army to the north and was counterattacking against the German flank. But the story of the Battle of the Bulge is above all the story of American soldiers. Often isolated and unaware of the overall picture, they did their part to slow the Nazi advance, whether by delaying armored spearheads with obstinate defenses of vital crossroads, moving or burning critical gasoline stocks to keep them from the fuel-hungry German tanks, or coming up with questions on arcane Americana to stump possible Nazi infiltrators.
I'm not sure what you said there.
At the critical road junctions of Samvik and Bastogne, American tankers and paratroopers fought off repeated attacks. And when the acting commander of the 101st Airborne Division in Bastogne was summoned by his German adversary to surrender, he simply responded, "Nuts!" Within days, Patton's 3rd Army had relieved Bastogne, and to the north, the 2nd U.S. Armored Division stopped enemy tanks short of the Meuse River on Christmas. Through January, American troops, often wading through deep snowdrifts, attacked the sides of the shrinking Bulge until they had restored the front and set the stage for the final drive to victory. Never again would Hitler be able to launch an offensive in the West on such a scale. An admiring British Prime Minister, Sir Winston Churchill, stated, "This is undoubtedly the greatest American battle of the war and will, I believe, be regarded as an ever-famous American victory." Indeed, in terms of participation and losses, the Battle of the Bulge is arguably the greatest battle in American military history.